Welcome to Our Scars Speak. My name is Kristina Miner. I am the host of this podcast. And just to give a disclaimer that we are not claiming to be any form of professionals giving advice or suggestions for your treatment plan. We are just here to let you know that we support you, to share our story, and to educate you, but definitely use everything to your own discretion and do not deviate from your treatment plans. Okay, today we have Kristin Sage. And I met Kristin through Here for the Girls, and she is such a lovely person, has such a sweet spirit. And I want to thank you for coming on tonight.
Thanks, Kristina.
So we're going to hop right into it. And the first thing that I always ask people are like, who are you? Who is Kristin? Without any labels, without any of that, like, how would you describe yourself as a human?
Well, I would say the number one thing for me is the beach. So I'm a definite beach bum, but also like anything with water. So lakes are good too, ponds, whatever. Just to be in nature.
Okay.
Anything outside, but anything with water. So that's my number one, along with my boyfriend and our 12-year-old, and my dog.
Oh, so you're a nature person.
Nature person for sure.
Okay.
And then I do like to play tennis, although I haven't played in a while.
Wow.
So I need to get back out there because I'm busy working on my business.
Right.
So yeah, pretty busy.
Yeah, I know, because I've talked to you sometimes like I gotta go. But yeah. So with that being said, before we even get into like your breast cancer journey and your story, and I know it's been a few years, so that's okay, but I want to make for sure that people know, because a lot of times when I've gone on interviews and different things, and you probably can relate to this too, a lot of times people just want to know, okay, what happened from the onset of finding out you have breast cancer? It's almost like they forget in a way. Some people do have to stay to their story and they only have a certain period of time, but sometimes it's almost like, hey, we had a life before breast cancer. Like breast cancer, this is a part of our life, but it doesn't define us. And we had a life before we even got diagnosed. So I always ask guests, like, what was life for you before breast cancer? Like, what was going on? Were you in school? Like, how was life flowing for you at that point?
So when I got diagnosed, I was 32. So right before that, I was playing tennis a little more.
Okay.
I was dating, which is quite the adventure. Have some nice stories, if you ever want to hear that. And then I had just gotten duly licensed as a counselor. Okay. So licensed marriage and family therapist, and then licensed professional counselor in the state of Virginia. So that had happened about a year before. So I was getting situated in my job and my career. So really career focused, again, trying to date, but nothing really serious at all. So, just focusing on myself basically.
Right. Because at 32, when you think about it, some people have children, some people don't, some people are married, some people aren't. Some people just graduate from graduate school a lot of times, whether they went back later or whether they went all the way through or becoming a doctor or what have you. So it's kind of like the peak almost, it seems like, at, life for us a lot of times when we're diagnosed younger, especially in the 30s. And so given that you were diagnosed at 32 and life was just seemed like it was obviously going very well for you, at what point, what made you was it a regular routine doctor's visit? Did you find a lump? Like, explain how you even got to the doctor's office.
Sure. So
what do you remember?
No, I remember this. So I don't know. It's just kind of weird, but it's not. So I had woken up from a nap and I heard this voice, and it just said, you need to feel the left side of your left breast. And I think it was my grandma, and she had died. But like thinking back, like at the time, it was just hard to, because it was like waking up from a dream. Like you're just not awake. It was just bizarre. And that's when I heard it. And so I did. And I was like, oh crap.
Oh, wow. So you could really feel like a lump.
So it was very hard.
Okay.
So that's when I kind of freaked out.
So was it sort of like the size? Do you remember what size it was? Could you compare it to was like a golf ball size or like ping
maybe
pong?
like a grape size?
Okay. And I guess that did startle you, considering that you had a voice you heard someone that you think is your grandmother to say, check that. And then there was something there. So was there a family history of breast cancer?
No family history at all.
Okay. So then at that point, I'm assuming you just went ahead and made a doctor's appointment, because you wouldn't have been at that point even getting mammograms, would you?
No, I think, like just hearing on the news and just hearing just like little PSAs or whatever, check yourself. Yeah, I did. But, there's no history. It's kind of like, why would I? So, but it's so weird because it was right there.
Right.
It was like, but I could have, I guess, touched it before, but I hadn't, you know what I'm saying? So it's just it was meant to be, I think.
Yeah. And you can't beat yourself up about that. I don't think any of us can, because I've heard some stories where women were really, really avid once a month. Well, you got to think about it. Once a month, there's a gap period that you may not be checking for 30 days or so.
Yeah.
So anything can happen in that time frame. They went back. Shucks. I mean, it can happen. So yeah. Up any and everywhere, anytime. So with that being said, because you were not 40, you didn't have family history. So now you go to the doctor. Did you even have an idea of the steps you need to take, which doctor to go to? Did you know any of that?
I had no idea, and I didn't want to tell anyone because I knew if I called my mom, she would freak out, right? So I kind of kept it to myself for a few days, and I had moved recently. So my primary care doctor was in Williamsburg. I was near Smithfield. So I went to like a doctor close by, and I was like, well, maybe they can just tell me the steps,
right?
Instead of me having to drive to Williamsburg. So then the doctor was like, well, I don't know, but it's in the if you do have it, it's in the right area for you to have breast cancer. I'm like, what does that mean?
Wow, he just flatly told you that? Okay.
Yep. He's like, but I want you to get an ultrasound. So he referred me to a specialist. So I called the specialist, and they're like, no, you need to go see your PCP. And I'm like, okay.
Okay.
So I made an appointment.
So I'm assuming, because every insurance, there you go again, every insurance is different. So with, for instance, my insurance, we can go directly to a GYN without a referral. Some insurances, you have to go to PCP first and then go to a specialist. So it seems like you kind of had an insurance where you had to go to PCP first and then move from there. So when you went to the PCP, whenever that appointment was it a long time out, or was it pretty quick?
I don't think it was that long after.
Okay. Because that's the time, as far as like being anxious, if you were anxious during that time.
Oh yeah, I was anxious.
Yeah. So tell me you didn't Google, or did you Google?
I did not.
Oh, you didn't?
Nope. I'm like, I'm just gonna wait.
You're rare. You're very rare.
Don't go online. No.
That's the worst thing.
No.
Oh my God. So when you went to the doctor, what happened during that appointment?
So she was like, that was interesting too, but she was like, well, I can't really say if you do or not. And I don't know why she said this, but she was like, if it's hard, it's not a good sign. But it was hard, and she felt it. So I don't think she wanted to tell me. I don't know what the like rules on that are, but she's like, okay, here's like a couple of, I think it was radiologists. So I had to go get get an ultrasound.
Okay.
So that was the next step. So I had to call and go do that.
Okay. And yeah, the reason why they probably said about the heart is because they do identify, usually they don't want to say you have breast cancer, but that's one of the descriptions, is hard and not movable. So that's for people who are listening, even that's something that, they usually say if it's soft and moving around, then maybe not. But if it's hard and you can't move it around, that's usually not a good sign, supposedly. But there again, lumps come in all shapes and sizes. So tell us about like the testing part, and then just kind of lead us into all of like what happened with your story. Yeah.
So I went to the radiologist to get the ultrasound, and they're like, well, we don't know. So it's a lot of, well, we can't tell, we don't know. And I think I got a mammogram then, but I know they did the ultrasound too.
Right.
And it was like, I don't know, you need to go see a specialist. So on my own, and my mom helped me, we found a specialist. So I lived in Carrollton, which no one knows where that is, but it's right by Smithfield.
Oh, okay.
So we were like, okay, where in the area can we go? So we went down to, I think it was Norfolk.
Okay.
So there was like a breast cancer specialist center. So I think I got the ultrasound and then they did the biopsy there.
Oh, okay.
So this was all really fast, I feel like. So, and actually I was leaving a job. It was like in June, and I was leaving my job at the end of the month when I found it. So it was like a lot of overlap, a lot of craziness. So I feel lucky I had insurance too, because I made sure I had insurance. Because what I was doing is I was going from a really good, stable job, 9 to 5, to private practice. So I had just been starting going into private practice. So I had a few clients, but you have to build your caseload.
Right.
And if you don't work, you don't get paid. So that's a whole interesting situation. But so that was probably like end of June, early July, and I got diagnosed with stage 1A, I think.
Okay.
I think it's invasive ductal carcinoma. So that was like mid-July. So that was very shocking. Very shocking.
Right. Especially at 32.
But I felt like, all the doctors, I had so many doctor's appointments, and it's like the same thing. I'm like, this is just not good.
Right. Yeah, it's sort of like when they start telling you, go here, go there, take this test, do this. You don't want to think the worst, but it's almost like, oh my God, like, what are you looking for? Like, obviously you're looking to rule out something that's major. So with the 1A, so from there, did they set up your treatment plans? Like, how did they maneuver from that point? Because I know you probably had a consultation, I would think, after that with your breast surgeon.
So then they're like, okay, well, if you go next door, there's a general surgeon who specializes in breast cancer. I'm like, okay, that works out well. So then I went over there, and she was great. So again, like, just very shocking. Like, the whole thing's very shocking. And they use a lot of scientific terms, and that's what they do all day. And it's kind of like, what is happening? Like, so you're like, what? But they try to break it down, but sometimes you're like, I don't understand.
Right.
So she gave me some options, which were lumpectomy or double mastectomy. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. And the mastectomy was because I was so young.
Okay.
So I was thinking about that. And then I had a lot of scans and things like that. So I was thinking about what to do, had a scan. Like 2 weeks later, I think, I got a call from her, and she's like, I don't really know what's going on, but the radiologist found a mass on your liver. We think it's cancer.
Oh, so this is okay, because I remember you telling me a particular part of your story, but which you'll share yourself, but now I see why you said what you said as far as the misdiagnosis. But so you went from 1A to now finding out that they found a spot on your liver. So which we don't want spots on organs at all. So what was that like? Did they make you come back? Did they do a biopsy? Like, how did they handle that situation?
So that was interesting. So they're like, yeah, you need to get a biopsy. And I'm like, okay. And so actually, to that point, I had not cried or anything, but when she told me that's when it happened. And of course I was at work about to see a client. So I had to get myself together real quick.
How did you handle that? And I just want to stop you there, because you're the first person who's been up here who had a situation like that. Like, they got the news and they had to go and handle business. How was that like for you? Because that's a lot to hear, and then you got to go in a room and go counsel someone about their problems. How was that for you?
I mean, that's shocking. And then I was crying, and then I was like, well, you got to get it together. Like, there's no, but, not going to lie, it's hard to concentrate after you just heard that. So trying to be present for the client, but also like, oh my gosh, what is going on?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Like, was there anything like you do some breathing or something before you even got in the room with him or her, to get yourself together to be able to at least be present in that moment for that hour, however long you've seen them, because that is a lot.
Mhm.
Counseling is a lot on a good day, sometimes. So having a situation like that and then going in to be present, like you stated, that had to have been very difficult for you.
It was, but it wasn't, if that makes sense. I just knew like I had to do what I had to do. And I just kind of, like I said, tried to turn it off the best I could. So,
Right, right.
but yeah, it was hard. Mhm.
Wow. Okay. So did they tell you then that you have to go back, or when you went back, or what were the next steps? What did they tell you since they found a spot?
Yeah, so I don't know if they must have scheduled it or something. It was a specialist. He was the nicest doctor. I'll never forget him. He was besides my team in Richmond, which I'll talk about. Up to that point, he was just the nicest doctor. Like he
Oh,
seemed to really care.
okay.
So that was interesting. What is it? It's not like full anesthesia. It's like, was it like moonlight or something? It's like not a full anesthesia, but it's kind of like you're like on like a little like woo woo. And so kind of you can feel everything, but it doesn't hurt.
Wow.
And so he's like, I'm just letting you know I might puncture your lung. I have to tell you. I was like, well, at this point, does it matter? Like, just do it. But he didn't do anything like that.
Right.
But I think he took like it's like 7 or 9 like little samples of my liver.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. So what happened with the results and stuff after
So
that?
I had to wait 2 weeks for the results,
Ooh,
which was really hard because I'm like, well, hold on, I need to go back a little bit. So I actually also talked to, at the time, it was my new oncologist.
okay.
So I heard the news over the phone from my general surgeon, but then I had a first appointment with the oncologist.
Hmm.
And he let me know kind of like I had the mass. He's like, really don't know a lot, but I read the report. And so he's telling me all these things. And I like was just not understanding, like, I'm just still stuck at what's going on. He's very like, he was English. I don't know if that has to do with anything at all. It was just very matter of fact. I'm sure he sees a
Right.
lot of people. I get it, but there was like a lack of care, and that was really difficult.
Mm.
And then I asked him because this is me. I'm just like, so like, if that, stage 4, like how long do I have to live? And he said it could be 6 months, it could be up to 2 years, but really like hearing the 6 months is very shocking.
Oh, wow. Now, remind me, you were on the phone with him?
So at that time I was in person, and actually my parents
Okay.
were with me, and they were floored. Everyone's crying. I'm crying. They're crying. That's hard to like see your parents cry.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then to hear like, okay, well, and he's just very matter of fact, and just to hear, okay, well, it could be 6 months. It could be like a little more, but so that's in, I don't know, mid year. So by the end of the year, that's, all you got or whatever.
Right. And that's before you even had the biopsy report from the liver.
Right. Which is very kind of like jumping the
Mm.
gun to me. Like, why
Yeah.
did they do all of that?
Well, it just seemed like you don't have the report yet. So be careful what you say, because you don't know. Because sometimes people go in and they take things off liver or other organs or whatever, and it's not even cancer at all. It's maybe a cyst or something else. So, wow. Oh, I meant to ask you, do you take the genetic testing? Because a lot of people know and don't know about genetic testing. So I always try to ask my guests, did you take it? And if so, were you positive for anything?
I took it. No, I think it's some kind of gene mutation.
Yeah. Yeah. Because Dr.
So,
Spina was saying when she was up here one time before, she was saying that if you've ever got diagnosed with cancer, it may not be on the sample yet of testing, the BRCA1 or BRCA2 or whatever else they got out there. But we definitely need to keep an eye on it ever so many years to get retested genetically, because as they discover new mutations, ours may be discovered within that. So I know she told me like
yeah.
5, 7 years after the first one you've ever had. So there's no evidence of anything. So I want to make sure, because I knew you said there was no evidence in the family, but I didn't think we touched on the actual specific genetic testing. All right, so you get your test done, 2 weeks waiting.
So that
you
was
had to wait 2 weeks before that because he told you this bad news, and then you get the test, and now you wait almost 2 weeks again. So what happens at that point?
yeah, like that was probably like the longest 2 weeks of my life.
Right.
Lots of crying, lots of like talking to God, like, hey, what's the plan? Like, and how is this happening to me? Like, you know, all the thoughts that you have.
Yeah.
It was very, very hard.
Right. So they came back with the results, and obviously it was not on your liver.
So it's a mass on my liver that's benign. It was not cancerous, thank God.
Right.
It was just interesting to like ask, like, so what happened here? Like,
Right.
how do you come to this conclusion and it's not accurate? So thank God it wasn't.
Right.
But like, what happened? And so, you know, no one took responsibility, but.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
No apology, no nothing. Wow. Yeah, at least apologize to me. And I guess it's easy to do because they see something and it may look like cancer. But one thing I have to say, a lot of individuals that I even talk to currently are saying doctors are a little bit more hesitant sometimes to even give information. So it's almost like some of them have gone from one extreme to another, like the extreme of saying too much to now I'm a tiptoe, which I can understand because even people try to sue people for stuff like that. Because even just the mental torment of having to wait after you pretty much then told me I got 6 months. Well, you did. You said 6 months to 2 years. That's a lot. And then you had to wait for the results. So you get everything back. So what treatment plan were you, because you were stage 1A, correct? So what was your treatment plan?
So that's the other fun part. So I had to go on a wild goose chase. Okay, so I got to remember. So I was diagnosed ERPR, both negative.
Oh,
this initial, and then HER2 equivocal. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No, explain.
Equivocal is neither positive nor negative. So they didn't know how to treat me because usually you're negative or a positive.
I kind of assumed that's where you were going, but I wanted to make for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so oh wow. So you were neither hormone levels, and then the HER, HER2 was neither.
Right. At the time, yes.
Okay.
That's what they said. So then I was like, so what does that mean? How are you going to treat it? And they're like, we're going to treat it as a negative. So then I would be treated as a triple negative.
Okay.
But it was equivocal, so I was not okay with that. Like that wasn't concrete enough for me.
Right.
Yeah. And then so like they kind of, you're kind of in a daze when you're going through all these appointments, all this, whether you have someone with you or not, and hopefully you do. It's just so much. You're just in a haze, and then being told like you have 6 months. That wasn't all in a haze too. Right. And then like equivocal, okay, you're all in a haze. What does that mean? And you don't know what you're going to do. So you're picking one, okay, but you're like, that's my life. So like, I need you to figure that out,
So did you end up staying there, or did you go somewhere else? I was about to say.
Yeah. So that's something I feel I feel really strongly about that, just being like a younger person diagnosed. And then I ended up getting 3 opinions. So I just feel like if you're, this is just me, but I really think that if you're not sure about something, or a family member, maybe, they're not sure about something, I would always try to get a 2nd, 3rd, even 4th, if you have to, opinion, because that's your life. And the doctors know a lot, but you know yourself the best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So, and you got to feel good with what you're doing.
Right. So you go through all these opinions. So you had you had 3 opinions.
Mm-hmm.
And the 3rd one was where you stayed?
Yeah, so we did some research again. My aunt's a nurse, and she helped as well. And she's awesome. She came down from Connecticut, so I appreciate that. So we were looking around Virginia and North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
and we ended up going to UNC Chapel Hill, I believe.
Yeah.
And we saw a specialist there who has done like a lot of research.
Mm-hmm.
So I went there and saw her, and she kind of told me the total opposite. She said, okay, well, we would treat you as a HER2 positive.
Oh, wow. Two different extremes.
So that's really confusing because it's like, okay, I respect both of these people. These are doctors. They know what they're doing. And they're telling me completely different things. What do I do? Because it's my decision, right? At the end of the day. I was so confused.
Wow. And UNC is a reputable hospital. So you got, that's opinion number 2 then. So then
opinion number 2.
So third opinion, like how did that go?
So then she referred me, she's like, okay, because she knew I was in Virginia. She's like, okay, what do you live by? Like, what's kind of by you? So we're like, okay, well, Richmond's kind of close. And she's like, oh, well, I went to fellowship with, one of the doctors. He's done a lot of research too, and he's well known in the field. I'm like, okay, I'll give him a shot.
Right.
So I had an appointment with him, and he told me the same thing as the second doctor. We would treat it as a positive.
Okay. So is that what you ended up getting treated as, was the positive?
So I ended up getting treated as a positive. And when I had left the second opinion, they ended up testing. So they tested my tumor. So for the HER2. So I didn't know, but I later learned that from the third opinion who treated me. And he tested it as well.
Okay.
So it was positive. So I just find it very interesting. Like, how did that happen over a few weeks that it was a positive and not equivocal?
Oh, so they both, because I know they hold our tissue for a period of time. So they both tested, and I want everybody to know that because a lot of people don't know that they do house your tissue, if I'm not mistaken, for a period of time. So if you need a second opinion or a third opinion or whatever, like she said, please go get it and make sure that everything gets transferred over properly to the hospital. So the first hospital said the equivalent, correct?
Equivocal.
Equivocal. And then the other 2 both came back and said, no, it's positive. So it wasn't that they were just treating you as positive. It was that they tested the actual tumors and it was a whole nother diagnosis.
Yep. But they said that the second one said before that we would treat you as a positive.
Well, I remember you saying that, but it's just interesting, like you said, how when they actually tested the tissue, it even came back as positive. So were you still considered a stage 1A?
So by the time of surgery, I was a stage 2.
So you were stage 2, because I was wondering, because with them testing the tissue, I was thinking maybe they found, which obviously they did, bumped your stage up. I'm thinking, right? Is that what happened? Like, because stage 1A was the other hospital, the first hospital, and then they checked your tissue. The 2 hospitals checked your tissue, and then that brought you to a stage 2.
I think they were saying because of the size and it was growing so quickly. That's why.
Yeah. So did they find that out before your surgery or after your surgery?
Are you saying the size or?
Yeah, the stage and stuff. That was before, correct? Yeah. So, wow, that's scary.
But I wanted to go back to, again, when I was at UNC, I did go see a fertility specialist.
Okay.
Because was encouraged to, and I was like, okay, even though I was like, so trying to focus on this other thing. Right. And I wasn't someone who was always like, I have to have kids. I was kind of more like, well, if I get to, I do. So anyway, it was just really interesting to hear about how that whole process works, about collecting your eggs and how they keep them. And they did go over all these ethical, moral issues that you might never think about.
Did you want to share about that, or you?
Like they were just saying, the doctor was saying, like, if you have your eggs and then, the male's part,
right.
So they're both, it's all yours and your partner.
Right.
So like, what do you do if one person wants to keep them and
Oh,
the other doesn't? And do you
okay.
want it kept at the lab? So it's
Interesting. Okay.
mhm.
Yeah, because I know some people who house their eggs, but I didn't know about the partner part. So that's interesting to hear that part about it. I didn't even think of that, to be honest.
Like I think everyone has rights, and you have to get, I think, both permissions to do anything with any of that stuff.
Wow.
So
Which
like,
makes sense.
what's that?
I said it makes sense though, because especially
Mhm.
if people break up or something like that, then you would want, yeah, you would definitely want to address that before somebody start messing with your eggs or your semen or whatever the case may be. Okay, so what type of treatment plan did you have? Chemo, radiation, what type of surgeries did you have this whole
Mhm.
during process that you had to endure? It was like you said, it was a lot, but this is so good to hear because so many women are living your story right now, or they will potentially, unfortunately, may live your story with going back and forth and having, going to the doctors and making sure you're being heard and treated properly. And I think sometimes as human beings, we forget that doctors and, medical professionals are human and subject to error. So
Mhm.
it's good to always have that second opinion, or third or fourth, like you said. So with your treatment plan, what was that consist of? What did it consist of?
So I think so it was chemotherapy, no radiation. I
Oh,
think it was like because of placement and the type. I think all of that really depends on the person and the type of cancer. I'm
okay.
not too sure how they figure that out.
Okay.
But there was a plan by the oncologist, and then I think I had met with the surgeon, the new general surgeon. And he suggested I do a double mastectomy.
Mm, okay. Now, in the beginning, were you even offered a double mastectomy, or you just offered a lumpectomy?
She said both, but I think it was, and I'm happy the way I did it because it was, and I don't know how often they say that, but it's like, okay, well, you can kind of change from a lumpectomy, to get the mastectomy, but can't go like the other way.
Right.
So I think I'm happy with the way that I did it.
Okay.
Um, and it was interesting too, because my option was, I could do nipple sparing, and
Oh,
not
good.
everyone gets to do that. And then I had direct to implant instead of expanders. So
God
that's
bless
different.
your heart. Yeah, because those expanders, whew, they hurt. They hurt. Um, so you had direct to implant, and so you had double mastectomy for your treatment, and then you had chemo, so you didn't have to go through radiation. And that probably, I don't know, usually, like you said, I guess it depends on the type of cancer you had and what they did with chemo and everything. I'm not for sure because everybody's
Mhm.
situation is so different. Um, and so after that, did you have any, like, your follow-up treatment plan? Did they go over like your surveillance after that, or how often did you have to go?
Okay, let me think. So I think it was like 3 weeks on, 1 week off.
Okay.
So I had it, I want to say it was like Taxol and AC for, I want to say 12 weeks. It's like 12 weeks one and then 8 weeks the other, something like that. And then Herceptin for a whole year.
Okay, so you were going back, because I know a lot of times, sometimes people, their surveillance, they've gone through the chemo, they've gone through the radiation, everything, and then their surveillance maybe once a year, or it may be every 6 months or every 3 months. So they did testing. So is that what they do with you now? Are you now, your surveillance is like every year and that's it, to just get your ultrasound or mammogram?
So I'm trying to think of how far. So I'm like, what,
Oh, good.
I'm 5 years out. I'm trying to do the math. Yeah, 5 years out. And so, I mean, I just go for like checkups, but I don't do any mammograms or ultrasounds or anything like that.
Okay, and then are you on any type of hormone treatment or anything like that?
Nope.
Oh,
I'm not
good.
taking any medication or anything like that.
That is good. Oh my
I-
goodness.
Yeah, I feel blessed. I feel like I've heard a lot of horror stories. I'm thankful. I feel like for the most part that my whole experience, okay, it's not easy or anything like that.
Right.
Um, I feel like medically it went well.
Yeah, I mean, you had some road bumps
Yeah,
there,
getting there.
but
That's the hard part.
yeah, but at the same time, it does seem like once it started going well, like you had adequate treatment after you got through that. At what point, and this is the only reason why I'm asking this question is because this is how we met. At what point did you discover Here for the Girls, and how and why? Like, did you want to go? I mean, is this something that you seen with, who invited you? Because I know a lot of times I found out through my doctor. So I was just curious how you found out about the organization.
So I had a friend, and at the time she was like getting her photo business
Oh,
going. And her
okay.
name is Anna. So she was in Virginia. She's not anymore.
Yeah.
But she was like, "Hey, do you want to do like some fun photos?" Like it was like a few weeks after I had finished chemo. And so I don't think, yeah, I hadn't had my double mastectomy yet. And
Mhm.
she knew a makeup artist. And they're like, so if you want to, we'll just do this photo shoot for you. We'll just like gift it to you.
Oh,
But is it okay if we like post your photos? And so I think she had found Here for the Girls somehow. I'm not sure how she did. She's like, hey, like, are you okay? Do you want to, there's this group. Do you want to try to go? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. It's a group of ladies. I don't know. That could go all kinds of ways. Um, I was like, I don't know. So then I think she's like, just like fill out this form. Somehow she knew someone. So they're like, fill out the form. And then I talked to Vicky. I don't know if you met Vicky.
yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay. So I talked to her, and then she linked me with the Newport News Group at the time.
Oh, cool. I was just curious. I was like, well, how did all that come in to play in your story? So, all right. So you went through treatment. Now so before you let us know that, you let us know during, and then now. I always say now because it's almost like it's an after, but yet it's like a now. It's like, okay, because sometimes we may have triggers now and things of that nature that kind of remind us of things. So how has life been after your treatment plan? Like after your treatment plan, the majority of it, the testing, the surgeries, well, you didn't have medication, we had chemo, but after all of that, how was the life after that? And then how is life now for you?
So I was living in Carrollton, right? And I would have to go to Richmond every week or so, which is an hour and a half one way. And actually, before I got the whole cancer thing going on, I was actually going to move to Florida. I was really thinking hard about going to Florida. But then cancer happened, and I decided to move to Richmond.
Okay.
I don't think I would have ever moved to Richmond had that, not happened.
Wow. So you went from Florida to Richmond.
I was like, I just got to get out of where I was. I wasn't happy, and
Yeah.
it was just time to go.
Right. Change is good. Change is
Mhm.
good. Change produces growth.
Yep.
So with you in Richmond, so you did tell us in the beginning that you were converting into your own practice. So I guess this is part of your now, because now we're coming into like who Kristin is now and what you're doing. So with that being said, tell us a little bit about that transition. How has it been for you? And yeah, tell us about your business and just being an entrepreneur with all of this going on at that time had to have been stressful, but you seem like you handled it well. And I was just wondering, with the transition, did it transition completely, or did you kind of like still work with an organization as another agency as you were getting yours off the ground, or you just went right into it and got your own agency?
So I feel really lucky. Somehow I worked part-time during my treatment. I don't know how I paid my bills, but it got done. So I just feel really lucky. Like really lucky. So that was for a small company at the time, and they're doing well now. So I'm really happy for them. But then I got a job as a contractor for the Army.
Oh,
So I did that. So that was full time.
mhm.
But I knew when I moved, I was like, I want to do my own thing. So I worked a lot. I did my full-time job, and then I started my own practice, just me, part-time.
Okay.
So I did part-time for maybe like a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was timing, my contract with the Army expired. They were changing contract companies, and I was like, all right, gotta go. So then I went full-time by myself, and I rented a little office and, built up my clients. And then that was 2021, I think. And then 2022, I was like, I'm going to try to add some people because there's a need.
Right.
And COVID's going on
Oh, yeah.
during this time, and COVID happened when I was a contractor. So
Okay.
a lot going on. Mm-hmm.
Wow. So 2022, you were full-fledged in your own business. You were still contracting at the time? Or
I left contracting in 2021.
Oh, okay. So you did leave it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So 2022 COVID hit. But yeah, you're right. It was it was a huge need. And then you had the opportunity then to do more telehealth, correct?
Yeah, so I had been doing telehealth before COVID blew up.
Okay.
But it just then, it was basically all telehealth for a while.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I know sometimes that can be a challenge because sometimes clients like more in person versus telehealth, but during that time that had to have been beneficial for you. Mm-hmm. So now you have your company. Tell us the name of your company.
So my company is Sage Counseling and Consulting.
Okay.
And it's in Richmond, Virginia. So we do telehealth and in person. And I'm a marriage and family therapist. That's my specialty, is families. Okay. So we specialize though in families, women, and children. So when I say children, I mean as young as 3. So like 3 to 17.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that's rare. You can't find a lot of people like that age group. I haven't seen too many people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When as a contractor, I worked with, I mean, you can't, you can talk to a baby, but they're not going to talk back. Right. But I was with mostly, I would say 2 to 5-year-olds. So wow. I learned a lot.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Wow. That's impressive. So you're doing your counseling now. You have a full-fledged business of your own. And when it comes to like cancer, is there something that you want to share with people? I know you said the advocacy piece and things of that nature, but is there anything that you want to share with people about like pertaining to things you want them to know, to be aware of? And I was just curious if you had anything you want to share any more about that particular part of your life. And how is it going for you as far as like, have you experienced any triggers, or are you okay and you don't really think about it that often?
I actually hadn't thought about it in a long time until we were talking about doing this. And I actually got a little emotional. It's just still, I don't know. It's kind of like, did that really happen?
Right.
But I think that it's really helped me. So I do see some people who are breast cancer survivors, or they have like other medical issues. That's pretty common, actually. Both men and women. So I feel like I can really empathize with them. So I think that's the positive.
Yeah, it is. It really is. I was just wondering, because a lot of us are like, if we have an itch or a lump or a bump, we are automatically triggered to, oh my gosh, what is this? But it seems like you pretty much have been in the clear without any type of symptoms or any type of alarm of anything since you had your treatment plan, correct?
Well, knock on wood, yes. But also it's kind of like it changes your life as far as like every little pain. Like I had some, I think, scar tissue on my right side. I was playing hockey with our 12-year-old and like I pulled my chest muscles, but I'm freaking out because I'm going to these support groups, and not everyone is as fortunate, and they're having all of these major problems, and eventually some of them pass. So it's like, okay, well, is it my turn, or like, is that what's going on, or is it something else? Am I being crazy? Am I like over analyzing, or is this like legit?
Right.
So like I did pull my chest muscle. So then I was like telling my doctor, I don't know, like, am I overreacting? But I don't know. Like, so we just talked about it, and I got a scan and I was fine.
Okay.
I did wait. I actually waited because I was like, I don't want to whatever.
Mhm.
But I'm glad I did. But it was good because the next time it happened, because it happened again, I
Oh,
knew what it
wow.
was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Those are the little triggers that I was wondering if you ever
Mhm.
encountered, because it seemed like you had a pretty smooth transition, but at the same time, I know things like that can happen to alarm us, like, or trigger us to think, oh, is this now come back?
Yeah.
So that's good though. But also with that, anything you want to leave with people far as anything you want them to know, far as going to the doctor or anything. You did talk about, like I said, far as them getting opinions, second, third, or fourth opinions, but is there anything else that you want to share about your breast cancer journey that may can help them?
I would say try to find support. If you don't have it, there are support groups out there like Here for the Girls.
Mhm.
I love them. So when I was going through treatment, I did not go to the groups. I went after, and I didn't know about them, and that's a personal choice, but I do know some women wait till after treatment and some go during, and it really does help them.
Right.
It is hard because you do feel sometimes that no one does understand, but when you do talk to another survivor or someone going through it, it's definitely a sisterhood. It sounds cliche, but it's true.
Yeah, it is. It's things that we understand about each other that some people don't understand unless they've
Mhm.
been through it. Okay, well, I would like for you at this point, I know that I'm sure you're doing things, you got things coming up that also involves myself and some other people.
Yeah.
I want you to kind of talk about some of the things that's going on now with your organization or with yourself that you may want people to know about, or where they can find you even on Facebook, social media. So just elaborate a little bit if you want to about anything that you have going on at the moment with your business or with yourself that you want people to know.
Yeah, so I'm really thankful. I have a wonderful staff. We are growing, and I am going to start hiring soon, but I have an awesome resident in counseling, Tamara Peterson. I love her. So she's there full time. And then I have a part-time administrative assistant, Ronika. She's awesome as well. So I feel really thankful for those two.
Yeah.
And so in working with Tamara, we decided to host our first annual women's conference. And
Okay.
that is going to be October 13th of this year. And
Okay.
so we work with a lot of women, both who have kids and who don't, but it seems like everyone has the same experiences as being a woman in today's world. So we hear all kinds of trauma, of course. Women are not putting themselves first. They're trying to figure themselves out, whether it's mentally, physically, new job, new partner. Do you
Right.
want to have a kid? I have a kid. Like whatever life issues women have, we see. So this was a good way for us to kind of get out in the community and just help women invest in themselves, focus on themselves, because we know women don't do that. They're putting everyone
Right.
else first. And then just hopefully help women connect with each other, like help them find like-minded women.
Right.
And we are going to have you there as our keynote speaker, which I'm so excited about. And we have a full day of speakers. And so we're having morning sessions that are more like discussion and information just on things about mental health, physical health, like your identity, positive thinking. And then in the afternoon, we have different self-care activities
Okay.
and strategies, learning about like Reiki. A lot of people don't know about that, but
Yeah.
I know it's like up and coming. Or maybe the importance of sleep. I'm learning more about that myself. We
Yes.
don't realize how important that is.
Very important.
So yeah, it's a full day, and lunch and breakfast is provided at the hotel. So we're really
Okay.
excited.
And did you want to share about your speakers, any of the speakers that are coming on, or
Yes.
yeah, so do you want
I
to share?
have a list because
Yeah.
I just can't remember. And I
No,
wanted to share.
yeah, I
Yeah.
want you to kind of share a little, whatever you have about
Yeah.
them. And then also, I know you have sponsorship packages and stuff. So you can elaborate on all that if you like.
Yeah, so if you want to go to our website, Sage Counseling for You, you can.com. That's our general website. If you're on social media, go to Sage Counseling and Consulting. We have flyers on there, and it has more information about the conference. And then I think the link to the conference is sagecounseling.ticketspice.com/transformed. So I can give you that information, maybe if we can share that. But I'm so excited for our speakers. They are all businesswomen in the community, mostly in Richmond, but a little bit in Tidewater.
Oh, okay.
So we're open to like anyone in Virginia, really, whoever wants to come. We would like to grow it, to help as many women as possible.
Right.
Mhm.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but let me share some of the speakers with you.
Yeah,
So we have you, of course. We have Diane Taylor. She's with Sage and Ashanti, and that's an organization, business for your home. So she helps you organize your home.
Okay.
Nicole, I'm gonna butcher her name, Forisma. She does, she has a rejuvenation skin lab.
Nice.
And so she's our speaker on sexuality also. So we're gonna have a topic on women's sexuality. But she's also a sponsor. So please check her out, Rejuvenation Skin Lab. Blanche Wilder, which you may know, Muscles in Need.
Yes.
Yeah. She's gonna talk about acupressure. Hopefully I got that right. We also have Erica Porter. She's with endomorphism. I always say that wrong too. She's gonna be talking about positive thinking.
Okay.
We also have a session on outside beauty. So we're gonna have Lydia Lewis with Queenly Lashes, and then Augustine Harris with Harris Beautiful.
Okay.
And she's also gonna be she's also gonna be talking about like how to be your best self.
Good. That's needed.
We do have one male speaker. He's actually going to bring some females as well. But his name is Atul Patel, and he's going to be doing a session on meditation.
I was wondering, because I was like, wait a minute, she said it's all female, but I was like, I could have sworn I seen a male in
I was
there.
like, are you sure? Are you okay with that? And he's like, yeah, I do all the time. I'm like, okay. But he's really nice. Yeah.
That is awesome. Yeah, meditation and mindfulness and everything that you've named is so essential to just healing in your health, your overall health and wellness. So yeah, that's going to be so great. I'm looking forward to it because it's a whole day. And after I speak, I can just relax.
Yes, and you can go to the sessions.
Yeah.
But I have a few more if that's okay.
Oh yeah.
Kim Goltum, she's with Creating Legacy Wellness, and she's a health coach. She's going to help with identity. I know that's really common, women trying to like recreate themselves, or even maybe like they've just never thought about it.
Right.
Because they're so busy. And then Dr. Erica Mason's she's from Sleep Better, Virginia. She's gonna talk about sleep, and she's like, you just don't even know. And I'm like, I know, I don't know. I don't know how, big of a deal this is. So she's really nice. And then we are going to have someone doing Reiki, Jasmine Bagby, Angel Aura.
I think, do I know her? Is she from Williamsburg?
That I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. But she's really nice. I'll have to find that out.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we have Jamie Vanek with Adminovate. I hope I'm saying that right. I don't know if you know Jamie.
No.
She's also a survivor.
Oh yeah, I don't think I know.
I don't know. Yeah. And then also a survivor is Elizabeth Lancaster with Project Sunshine.
I know Elizabeth.
You do know her. And Jamie's going to be speaking on changing careers.
Good.
And then Elizabeth is going to be talking about self-care also.
Good. It's really good.
Yep. And then we have you, and that's it for now.
That is awesome. And honestly, the identity one, that's huge, because it's amazing how things can happen in your life to shift your identity. Breast cancer, of course, it can shift things. But I remember when my daughter, when she left to go to college, it was like, oh, that's the last kid. And I didn't realize how much I identified with being a mom and a wife, not just Christina anymore. And that was an eye opener. So identity is a big thing, especially as women in transitioning through life. Having, and not to say fathers don't play a part as far as, helping out in the home, but that mother is a nurturer usually, and usually the kids come to the mom sometimes a little bit more than the dad sometimes, to share things. And then when they're gone, it's like, oh, what do I do now? Who am I now? Like, not to say you're not still a mother, but it's sort of like it's a shift in that role. So yeah, that's with your identity. So
it can change all the time.
That is awesome. All right. So now we're getting to the part of your song. What was the song that you had? Who is it by? And tell us why you chose that song.
Okay, my song was Whatever It Takes by Imagine Dragons, because I love Imagine Dragons. Like, I love all their songs. But I feel like, I don't know, that song is just, I will always figure anything out. And I feel like this whole breast cancer journey, I was like, that was so true. It was like, I got to figure this out. I'll do whatever, because I'm not. So, but that's just in everyday life. I feel like whatever the problem or stressor is, I'm like, okay, I'll figure that out.
Yeah, and just keep on going. So is there one word that you could leave with the audience to help them? Because there's some people who are listening who newly diagnosed, fresh wounds physically and mentally. And then there's some people who have scars that they look at every day. And it's not to say that they can get over them, but it's just the fact of they cannot even look themselves in the mirror because of the scars or just the mental scarring that they have. What's a word that maybe is significant to you or has helped you that you would like to leave with everyone to kind of encourage them, the ones who are battling with their mental and physical scars?
Well, my word is transformed, and I think that's physically and mentally. And I mean, I can't say to everyone or anyone like you. I mean, I do believe you will be okay either way. I can't say what's going to happen, but I think you will be transformed, and that can just, I feel like, be taken in so many ways. And you're never the same. Like, you're never the same after it happens, physically or mentally. Right. I do feel like, did I want this to happen? Definitely not. But I am thankful because it's changed me as a person. It's helped me meet my boyfriend, actually. I've met new friends. It's just, I moved. It changed my life.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And before I share something with you, is there anything else that you would like to share before we end?
I don't think so, but I just really appreciate, being on here and sharing my story because I'm really passionate about it.
Yeah. Because I know you were like, I got to talk about the misdiagnosis. And I was like, it definitely will come within that. And it's very much so needed because I didn't realize to that extent of everything that you had gone through until tonight. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
And so with that being said, I will say to you that I hope that you will continue to allow yourself to be vulnerable. And what I mean by that is, we don't have to go out here and share every single thing in our lives, right? And we don't have to be so transparent, but just vulnerable in the sense of continue to allow help, continue to be open to help, continue to be open to grow. As you already seen things come in your life, they change things up. And, like you said, cancer helped cause you to grow even more and expand. And where you're going and what you're trying to do in your life, I believe that you continue to have to allow yourself to be vulnerable. Even sometimes in vulnerability, we have to really, really trust whoever we serve, whether it's ourselves or God or whomever. We really have to trust that being or whatever that you decide to be higher than yourself. We have to trust it in order to even trust people. So I always tell people, allow yourself the vulnerability to start new relationships. And some people are like, I've been hurt too much. Yeah, me too. But don't allow another person to suffer for the hurt that has happened to you. And I'm not saying that's you in a nutshell at all, but I'm just saying being vulnerable in the next step of life, because I feel like you're expanding things like you stated. And with that, more things are going to come, more opportunities are going to come, and just be open to it, which calls for vulnerability and trust. So that's what I have to share with you. And I think the world of you. I think you're a sweet person. And thank you for inviting me to your event. I'm excited about it. And thank you for introducing me to Tamara. She's awesome.
Yes, thank
Yeah,
you.
I enjoyed chatting with her back and forth a little bit that we had that day.
Mhm.
But yeah, so that's all I have. If that's all that you have, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it on up.
Okay.
All right. Thank you all for joining us again for another episode of Our Scars Speak, and we hope you can join us again. Remember that our mental and our physical scars speak a story. When we tell those stories, I don't know, trust the process, trust when you're supposed to share your story, and don't let anyone rush you. But just know that your story can help another person. It can help them heal the wounds that they have. So until next time, talk to you later. Bye.